Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name's Leslie. Today, I'm going to talk about Match Me Abroad Season 1, Episode 5, Look Through Your Book. So, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I thought it was alright. I was disappointed Harold was not in there because I enjoy him and, his journey. But anyway, let me know what you think. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up or subscribe if you want to see more of this. I can't believe it's already episode 5. I don't know how many there are in this season, but it seems like it's just starting, still. So anyway, this episode starts off with Mark. He's 44 from Phoenix. He's going on his first date that Nina has set up with him. He's nervous about all the rules, but he's going to try to make the best of it and kind of keep that out of his head. His date's name is Sukanya. And Nina believes she's a good match because she's young. Remember, she's 24. She wants kids and a family. And she wants to come to America. So those are some good marks on the checklist. They get to the date and they're going to go on like a dune buggy, sand buggy, some type of vehicle like that. And Sukanya gets in the driver's spot and then begins to tell Mark she doesn't know how to drive and they have to switch spots. And this happens before Mark is even in the car. So I don't know why she got in on that spot if she couldn't drive. But anyway, they switch. He's asking her, so like, you can't drive at all? And she says no, and he's like, okay, well, you can watch me and then you'll try. And they kind of laugh. His first impressions is she's sweet and bubbly and beautiful. So they go ahead and get geared up with their goggles and their mask type things. So like, they don't get sand to the face. I'm sure. She says she's never dated an American. She thinks he's handsome and tall, and she's excited to show him Moroccan culture. So they take off, and while they're driving along, he's asking her some questions. He asks her how many countries she's been to. And she says she's only been to the one, that, she's never left Morocco. Because in Moroccan culture, the women can't, travel alone. And when I was listening to this, it was making me wonder if we've ever seen, a Moroccan woman dating an American man. Obviously, this is a new show. It's not 90 Day. But I don't think there's ever been a man going to Morocco for a woman. We've seen lots of women going there for men. So I wonder if that's part of that. So it's interesting that, we'll get this new perspective. So she's telling him that women have so many rules, and he asks if, they hold hands, if they're breaking the law. And he grabs her hand, and she's like, oh, a little bit. I'm like, okay, Mark, I see you, you little rebel. He says they don't have these kind of rules in America. And then he asks her, if she were to move to America, would she adapt to the American culture? And I believe in Mark's speak that means, are you going to get a job and help me? Right? But she says, sure, she would adapt to the culture because she likes American culture, right? So they get done on the little sand buggies. I don't know for sure that's what they're called, but that's what we're calling them today. And there's some little swing in the middle of the desert. They're there for about 37 seconds. And then they move on to another spot. And that's where we leave them for the first time. So he says he's interested to find out if she's willing to work, um, and if she's okay dating someone 20 years older than her. So he starts asking her all this stuff. Are you okay dating someone 20 years older? Do you want kids in the next few years? Uh, you know, um, Typical first date conversation, right? Actually, he didn't ask her that yet. He was going to ask her. This was in the interview. These are the things he's thinking of. Does she want kids right away? His anxieties. Then we circle back to them, and they're making small talk about the desert, and he says, they say they're in the Sahara Desert, and he says something about, well, anything that looks like this is the desert, but this is the Sahara Desert. I was confused, right? And she's like, yeah. She's impressed how smart he is and that he knows a lot about life. Then we find out that Mark's dream is to be an NFL sports announcer. So that's him on TV shooting his shot, to get that position. Hopefully it'll work out for him. She says, Sukanya says she wants to be a fashion designer, that she doesn't want to just sit home and let the men do the work and do everything. And Mark is doing like somersaults and flippies on the inside. He's relieved and happy, and he asks her if she comes to America, would she want to bring income into the house? And she says she would. That her mom and her dad both work and bring in income. And he says something about being relieved she's a little Americanized. So that's cool. She asks him how old he is, and he tells her he's 44, and she didn't believe that he was like that old. She thinks he looks young, and like she isn't worried about the age difference, right? She tells him they're the same age. So we're both 24. And he goes, well, are we both almost 50? And she's like, yeah, some days I wake up and I feel like I'm gonna die. Ah! Oh my god. I die. Oh my god. She did not say that. To me, I don't think she meant that, but it's implying that like 50-year-olds wake up and feel like they're gonna die. So some people could be offended by that, It came off that way, but, no one made a big deal about it. She starts talking about it's her first date in 3 years. Remember, she's 24. So she hasn't been on a date since she was 21. Which I think is normal because I don't know for sure, but I would think that in Morocco, women only date to marry. So I doubt, like, if she wasn't ready to marry, she would be dating a lot. She starts asking him about how many dates he's had, and this man cannot keep count, right? He never counted. He's had first dates, second dates, one night stands, chance meeting on the subway. He's had all the kinds of dates. He said, when you get married young, you miss out on a chance to like travel and date and experience the world and party. And I don't think that's the best selling point to get this young woman to want to marry you, because she might feel like she's missing out on that. However, in her culture, she's not allowed to have that anyway. So, what's the difference, right? We end off with them, and he's still isn't sure because she's really young and she doesn't have a lot of life experience. And I think if he did continue to date her, he would enjoy how impressed she is by everything he's done. because she seems like so, wow, you've had like an actual life, and she wants that. So it could work out. I'm not sure, if we'll see her again on another date with Mark, if he'll go out with another woman. I'm sure there's going to be a few, right? So I'm excited to think that. Let me know what you guys thought about Mark's date, his first date in Morocco. Also, let me know if there was another show or something I'm missing where an American man went to date a Moroccan woman. I would like to know. So next up, we meet up with Susan again. She was absent from last week, I believe. She gets in the car with Juan number 2. I call him that because he is the matchmaker Juan's assistant, and that's how I keep them straight. So it's not in a disrespectful way. There's Juan 1, Juan 2. They get in the car. She's on her way to the next date with Carlos. She's giving it a shot, even though apparently, according to her, he has nothing from her list. But I think the only thing that wasn't on the list was the age, She's giving it a try, though. So she's in a trust Juan process. And then we go on to Juan saying that Carlos is a good match because he's a musician, he likes to travel. So does Susan. He's go with the flow, he's laid back, and she's wound up pretty tight. So the contrast might work out for them, right? He called her rigidness. I said uptight, but same difference. So she finally meets up with Carlos, and they share a nice little hug, and he notices she brought her dog. And then she starts talking about her dog's a world traveler, and this is the dog's 25th trip. I haven't even been on one trip. It's definitely not out of the country. I've been on road trips, the occasional flight years ago. 25th trip for this dog. He's living the dream. Anyway, so they start off their date/tour, right? And Susan thinks he's very handsome. She's happy about that. He suggests getting a beer. She loves the idea. They ride up this escalator, which has like a beautiful view. And they get to the top, and there's a lady selling big ass ant aphrodisiacs. And Carlos is trying to get Susan to eat one. And she is not going to do it. Not even a little. And then he eats one, and she goes like, That's how I do it. And I know I do the same thing. I would have done the same thing if I watched someone eat something that I think is gross. It doesn't mean it is. I'm the world's pickiest person, right? So she's like, anyway, he never dated an American woman. This is the first time. He thought she was going to be superficial and stuff, and it was weird she had her dog. But she's beautiful and smart, and, just what she's looking for. All of a sudden, they're walking by, and there's like a dance circle type thing. And he hands her his, camera on a stick. So it's either like a GoPro, I don't know. Hands it to her. And he's like, here, record this. And she's standing there in this crowd of people. And he gets up there, and he's just busting moves, right? I mean, he's good. He's a good dancer. And she just keeps saying, yeah, that's my date. That's my date. I don't know why she kept saying that, like she was cheering him on, like, that's my dog. Or, That's my boy. But anyway, we find out that she felt that that was immature, and like he's way younger than she needs. She thought it was rude that they would be on a date and he would like stop the date and have her record him dancing. So she feels like that's him showing his age. But she's just gonna still try to focus on having fun and enjoying it. We find out he's actually from Bogota, not from Medellin. I can't say it. Where they're at, because she's asking him questions and he doesn't know anything. And she's like, "You don't even know your city." He's like, "I live in Bogota." But he's always traveling. She finds out he's an actor. Apparently she avoids actors like the plague, right? He asked how long she's been single. She said the last relationship she's in wasn't healthy. And basically immediately like shuts down this line of questioning. She's like, "We're not kicking that tree." He's like, "Oh, this is a deep topic." She doesn't like it because she thinks that's, I think, immature for him to keep asking her or bringing it up when she doesn't know or trust him yet. But he's trying to get to know her. So, I've never done matchmaking, but I think at that point, you're kind of ready to just settle down and things. So, your previous relationships, even if they're uncomfortable to talk about, are important, right? So, yeah, she needs to trust him to tell him stuff like that. She's upset. This ruined her whole day thinking about her last relationship, and it's all his fault. He thinks she's a beautiful person, but she has walls up that he could like break down. But he says my favorite thing I heard the whole episode, that if she was just in a toxic relationship, she could have toxic behavior. And that could be a challenge. And this is so true, because even if you're not the like bad person or the abusive person in the toxic situation, the like innocent party or victim of that develops toxic coping mechanisms to get through that relationship. So I thought that was pretty mature for him to say, for someone who's showing their age, because, like, for example, if you're with someone who's narcissistic and they cheat on you a lot, or I guess any cheater, someone cheats on you a lot, right? You start doing things like, who are you talking to? Where are you going? Let me see your phone. Prove it. Out of anxiety and needing that reassurance. So you develop like jealousy issues and that kind of stuff. So I'll probably say this 100 times throughout these videos, but if you're really in a toxic or abusive situation, relationship, friendship, family relationship, I would go to therapy, because you learn a lot about how your behavior needs to change as well. Anyway, I love that he said that. So, back to the date. They're walking away. You can tell Susan's done at this point. She's like, I'm going to go home. I've had this dog out since 9:30 a.m. and she hasn't ate. 9:30 a.m. and you haven't fed this dog a morsel? Nothing. It's dark. Poor dog. So, anyways, I don't even have a dog, and I think that, is that normal to not feed your dog for like 12 hours? Anyway, she says everything she thought about him is right. He's good looking but immature, and she's just losing faith in Juan and in this process. I can't blame her, because the first date was terrible, but this wasn't bad, and she came in closed-minded. And as soon as he asked her a normal question, Like, when was your last serious relationship? People have asked me that off of dating apps. You know, like, you want to know what you're dealing with. I didn't think that was bad. She just wasn't going to accept his age. She can't understand why Juan would pick either of them, and she feels like he's not listening to her, he's not hearing her, he isn't taking what she wants into consideration at all. So, they're going to have an argument, right? That's going to be juicy. And so, after Susan, they bring in Stanika. Now, we ended the episode with her last week, and she sat down with her date, and, his brother came in, and he's asking her all these questions, and then the parents come in, and he chases them out, and they're yelling in the street, kinda. So, we're back at this table. She says, Stanika says the date started off great. She liked the welcome she got. But then the brother sat down, right? And the interrogation began. At least it seems that way, to her. Then the next thing she knows, he's fighting with his mom in the street. She tells Nina Salah, which is the man she's been on this date with for 5 minutes, lost some points, right? With that. And, Nina can't blame her. He finally comes back and he's telling the translator that he didn't want his parents to be there or have anything to do with this date or the show, probably, the cameras. Stanika says, this is nowhere near as good as Noradine, the date she had with Noradine. But with the culture and the language barrier, we're going to give her a good old college try. He sits down and he's sad that, like, her smile went away, and he starts making her smile, and then he tells the translator to inform her they're going on a motorcycle ride. Nina, she says she knows he's a decent guy. Obviously, he's in her matchmaking service, so she knows him to a point. She lets Stanika know that she can call her if she needs to. Salah thinks the date's going amazing. I'm not sure what date he was on, because they didn't even have an iced tea at that table, no chips. He left yelling at his mama, and these 3 women are sitting there with no answers. And his brother was asking her a million questions. So what date was this man on? Anyway, they get, the helmets on, and they're getting geared up for their motorcycle date. And, they're going without the translator or the matchmaker, going solo. Stanika starts talking about how her dad has a few motorcycles, so she grew up doing this. She's comfortable on them. And they're off. And, motorcycle ride to me seems like a great option at this point, because they left the translator behind. And I think Salah knows a few, English words and phrases, but not a lot. And Stanika definitely doesn't know any. So later, they get back to Stanika's hotel. She said the time on the second part of the date, meaning the motorcycle ride, was better than the first part of the date. However, she is not impressed with how he spoke to his mama. She makes that known to the interviewer. So they sit down and they're ordering some water, and she's getting orange juice. Apparently the orange juice there is delicious. Delicious. So they both get out the Google Translate, and he starts asking her questions. What kind of guy she likes. She says she likes manly men, someone caring, respectful, has pure intentions. Don't we all, girlfriend? It's the dream. So he asks her, what does family mean to her? And as they're doing this back and forth with the translator, Stanica keeps answering him in English. Like, he asks the translator, it says it to her in English, and she answers back in English. And then he's like, could you use the translator? And she's like, oh, okay, like the first question about like what kind of men she likes. And then the second time, she gets annoyed and she thinks he's being rude when he says, like, translator. And he did kind of cut her off while she was talking, but he can't understand her. And so he's trying to remind her, like, whew, it's going right past me, lady. So I thought it was rude of her to not, just use the translator and then get upset that, he was asking her to do it. So she types in the translator that family means togetherness, protection, not being rude. And that was definitely a dig because he's a rude boy to his mama. She then brings up how he was talking to his mom and how it's a red flag. She wants to know if that's a normal thing. And he's like, my family's a red line, not to be crossed. They have nothing to do with his personal life. And she goes from there to like, do you have anger issues? And he's like, well, why are you saying all this? You don't know me. We just met today. What makes you think I have anger issues? Well, he didn't say that, but they just met. So this is like the last straw for her. And she's like, nah, bro, we're done. We have no chemistry. I'm out. Thank you for the nice day. She hits her limit and she starts kind of going off a little bit, which I could understand because she had had enough. And she goes off about the no chemistry. She can't find it, draw it, pretend anymore. She said there's no chemistry between the seafood on the table. Nothing. So he wishes her well on looking for love, and she does the same. And he agrees with her, and that's okay. And that's the end of the video. So, or not the video, their segment. And that's kind of interesting about this show, being that, like, once they realize they're not meshing, they part. They don't sit there and keep arguing and trying to push it and staying toxic, right? So the last person we see is Nathalie, and she's meeting up with Juan after her date with F-boy number 9. He has no name to me. She said there was no connection beyond physical and how she's like attracted to him. He asked her what she thought, and she said she couldn't believe who Juan had picked for her. She's never dated a personal trainer. She never dated someone who is covered with tattoos. She starts telling him about the rooftop pool and how he took his shirt off and she could like barely look. She peeked a little, but that was about it. She said nothing more happened, and he asked why. And he says, is it because you or your mom? He asked her how she's supposed to explore and, find out what she likes. And I just want to know what is wrong with this matchmaker, right? He asked her what he did to make her upset. And I'm just wondering why she needs to be, like, promiscuous to find someone. Like, I don't think it's okay to make this girl feel like this is a problem. Not everyone's, like, loosey-goosey. So they get back on the subject about how this is her mom's fault and how every time she gets close to exploring the sexual side of her, she hears her mom and her culture. She can't do it. So then they go into a little more with Juan, and we find out he has 2 daughters that he used to be very strict with. But once they reach a certain age, he realized that you need freedom to make your own choices. Because it was her life and not like her parents. He said at a certain age, he needed to let her go make her own decisions. She's hoping he can pick someone she likes for her, and her mom would just accept it, but she knows that's going to be a long road. To get there with her mother, for her to just bring a boy home she likes, and her mom is thrilled. Her mom definitely wants to pick the man she's going to marry. And with the way this is going, she might get like overwhelmed and scared and run home. I can see why Juan is trying to correct this mistake he believes is being made because of his own parenting and how he gave his daughters freedom, and that was probably great for them, but he's not this girl's dad, he's her matchmaker. So maybe he should focus on that instead of trying to make her like uncomfortable and make her feel like she needs to be something she's not to find somebody there. I don't believe that. If someone is right for you, they'll give you the time and space you need to become sexual. And like I said, I still believe that she plans to be a virgin till marriage. I'm pretty sure that's in a lot of cultures, like most cultures, especially ones that strict, that's almost a given. So, I'm still iffy on like why he's pressuring her to be this way. Even if he sees his daughters in her, that's not the case. I'm not sure how I feel about his methods, because between her and Susan, it just seems like he's playing a game and like doing what he thinks is best for them. So I guess we'll have to keep watching, find out about that. I'm excited we get to see Harold next week. I missed that. Let me know what you guys thought about this one. Thanks for sticking it out with me, and if you liked it, please thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.